What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the GSN Sports Network podcast. I'm your host, John J. II, here on a Wednesday, the 15th of July, 2026. Wow, we have a lot of sports going on right now. We're starting to get to the point in the season, though, where we're getting into a little bit of a lull before football season comes back here in a month's time. We're just kind of treading water. We're watching the end of the World Cup. We do have the Open taking place tomorrow through the weekend, so that's gonna get us by through this weekend. But we got some things to talk about. We got trade deadlines. Certain things are in the works with the MLB. We're talking about NBA. Where are guys going? We're gonna have to get some NBA guys insight on where players are going, where deals are being made and constructed. And just to kind of get some insight on what's going on in the NBA, how we can see the landscape change. Also, I want to touch on some interesting points on the NBA itself. And we've talked about it, we've touched on it in the past, but I'm not going to get into that right now. We'll get into the prominent issues, the topics of discussion before we dive into that stuff. So, welcome to the GSN Pod. First off, I want to talk about UFC 329. Just because it was, you can call it lackluster, you can call it one of those events, one of those UFC numbered events that provided some good fights. There were some good fights on the card, but at the same time, the star-studded fights, the ones that we wanted to see go a little bit longer, maybe didn't. Okay, obviously the top of the list is the McGregor-Holloway fight, which was the headliner. And just looking at that fight, seeing what happened, looking at the hype that was built up around it, it was really a shame. Just because looking at what happened, and you look at the map, you look at the damage map of Conor McGregor in specific, just going for a dumbass flying kick to then not even connect. Okay, listen, this guy hasn't been in a sanctioned UFC fight, UFC event for several years. He comes into a headliner event, in a numbered event, no less, against a star-studded fighter in Max Holloway. Okay, BMF champion. We're talking lightweight champion, welterweight champion. This guy has been places, he's done things, and he didn't want to win this way. He didn't want to win by Conor facing another injury. So with all the shit talking that went on and that took place, Max didn't want this to happen. Conor didn't want this to happen. The fans didn't want this to happen. DC, John Anik, Joe Rogan, they didn't want to see this happen. Dana didn't want to see this happen. Nobody did. Okay, so it's just one of those things. So you can expect a 3, I guess, at some point, but Conor's getting up there in age. You may raise the question, how much longer in his career does he have? Not only that, but how long can he perform at the highest level? Okay, that question always arises in a multitude of leagues, in a multitude of different sports. So that question has to arise when you're talking about Max Holloway and Conor McGregor fighting again after this event. So you're talking... It's just terrible that this had to happen. You hate to see it. You hate to watch it. You hate to see it take place. It's just a shame. Then you got Paddy the Baddy against Benoit Saint Denis. Submission in round 1. Pretty early exit there for Benoit Saint Denis. And Paddy the Baddy basically reclaims his position in the winning column after getting his ass beat by Justin Gaethje in the last event. Then you had a good one with Corey Sandhagen and Mario Batista. Went to unanimous decision, and that was a good fight. Corey Sandhagen's always going to give a great fight, great effort. But you look at the numbers, it looks like a pretty even fight. You watch the fight, it looks like a pretty even fight. It's almost a toss-up, but Mario just did his thing to take more control in that fight and do what he had to do to rise the occasion and raise the eyebrows of the judges to do what he had to do. He led in significant strikes, led in total strikes, led in head and body strikes, leg strikes, more ground control, more takedowns. So the numbers really spoke for themselves, but if you watch the fight back, it looked like a pretty even fight. Okay, a couple other great fights on there that they showed us. They showed us that it was the UFC event. Okay, it didn't feel like a numbered event. It felt like more like a fight night type of aura. You return back to T-Mobile. That has nothing to do with it. It was more of the culmination of the entire main card that made it feel more like a fight night. But it was a numbered event nonetheless. And we shall move on. We shall look into the future with a couple big names that have left the UFC. We went and watched the, I believe it was UFC 281 between Michael Chandler and Dustin Poirier. Just a bloody fight, battle royale for the ages. And had the boys watch it. Actually, we were up north for a bachelor party this past weekend up in Rose City. Had a great time, threw a couple pops back. Really enjoyed the up north Michigan lifestyle. And we showed them this fight, and it was a bloody mess. We went back and watched some of the really old fights within the UFC that took place, and just to witness how much the UFC as a sport has changed throughout the years, throughout the decades even. It's really a sight to see. They've came a long way as far as polishing the product and turning it into a world-class style sport that the world has never seen since the gladiators fought at the Colosseum. So it's an amazing thing. You can either be a UFC guy or not. There's no middle ground. I've said in the past that I could take it or leave it. But historically speaking, for me watching many UFC events, I can say I'd rather take it than leave it. So in that breath, you could say I would go all the way with UFC being a fan or being a supporter of the battles. So it's not for everybody. That's been stated before. But if you've never took part in watching the UFC event, give it a try. Make sure you know whether it's for you or not. These guys are animals. These guys are animals. And they show it week after week, event after event, and they show why they deserve to be in the octagon and to fight for their lives in the octagon for us and for our entertainment. But looking forward to the next one. Got some headliners coming up, so we'll be sure to dive into that and maybe get some betting projections out there for the people. I know people throw lays out, people throw stuff out. Just looking at the Bet with Gin and talking about Bet with Gin in that breath is be careful betting UFC. I've seen people bet locks or quote unquote locks on UFC events, UFC fights. I would say don't do it. I'd say if you do it, throw a lay out there, throw a couple skin on there, pizza money parlays. Don't throw big money on any fight because bullshit can happen. Injuries can happen. It could throw your whole parlay or throw your whole straight bet off. So avoid throwing big skin out there on a UFC fight. That's just my 2 cents. And that goes hand in hand with our disclaimer of bet with your head, not with your heart, and don't bet more than you're willing to lose. We've seen that happen, and we've witnessed things take place where they're adverse to the bettor's outcome or the bettor's pocketbook, their bankroll. So be wary of that and take that into account. All right, looking at Wimbledon, the Wimbledon final. Sinner beats Zverev at Wimbledon in the Wimbledon final. You saw Zverev have a late breath of trying to get back into the match late in the fourth set. It looked like he wanted to come back. He didn't do that. He didn't make it happen. He didn't get the job done. But we saw a resurgence there late in the fourth. It wasn't to be. He folded and basically admitted defeat against Jannik Sinner as he reclaimed his throne at Wimbledon after Zverev won at Roland Garros. You thought he was going to go back and do it. You thought he was going to get the 2P, the Grand Slam duo. It wasn't to be. It wasn't to be in the cards, but I was pulling for Zverev. And listen, I'm an Italian. I love the Azzurri. I love everything to do with that. But I love, more than that, I love rising stars. Okay, Jannik Sinner has had his share of big dubs. He's had his share of Grand Slam titles. He's had his share at the top. Similar to Alcaraz, which he's battling injury still. And same with Djokovic, Joker Noel. I was pulling big for Joker Noel. Like I said, the last pod, we made posts about it. We were riding his ship, and we wanted him to go and get 25 so he could leave the sport with grace. I think he's too stubborn to leave. I think he's really going to battle this out and see how much he can do. He won against Sinner early in the year, and we know that he can do it. Sinner beat him this time in 3 sets. So it's sad to see that happen to a champion of his caliber, which we know he's a player of high status. We know he's a player that can win at the highest level. He's done it. He's proved it with 24 major wins throughout his career. And it really begs the question, year after year, event, major after major, what does the story hold? What does the narrative hold for Novak Djokovic going forward? The jury's still out. I don't think he's done yet. I really don't. He's going to keep going, keep thriving, surviving, and battling these events and making it to semis and major events. I'm confident in that, and we'll have to see what he does at the U.S. But it's a pleasure to watch him play in his late 30s at the level that he's playing. And even analysts, John McEnroe would say this, that he is still performing in certain categories better than anybody else. So that match against Felix will go down in history as one of the greatest major matches in a semi or in a quarters. Okay, in a quarterfinals. But we'll have to wait and see what the future holds for Novak. And looking at Zverev, he's got a very bright future ahead of him as well. And I'm hoping Zverev can go on and win some more majors going forward. Give these guys some hell. We need more talent at the top. Guys like Taylor Fritz, Ben Shelton, Tommy Paul. These guys have just struggled to reach that next level, the upper echelon of tennis, which it's sad to see, but at the same time, I think they're capable of it. So they just got to keep battling, keep their heads down, and keep striving for the top, to be at the top and to be the best and beat the best. So I love seeing the kings being dethroned in the world of sports, in the world of individual sport. And we've drawn the parallels week after week, talking about the similarities between tennis and golf. And the list goes on and on. I'm still confident that I'm going to make a podcast solely about that, dive deep into it, talk about the different facets of what make the two sports so similar and so beautiful. So be on the lookout for that. Moving on, talking about the World Cup, we now have 2 teams left. Okay, now all of our fears have been evaded, and that is being in the U.S., having the 250th birthday of the United States as a country, and having the World Cup on our own soil. And thank God the English are not going to win it. That was one of the biggest fears of Alexi Lalas. There's certain guys that we talk about because we value their opinions. Obviously, Alexi Lalas has proven himself to be a very outspoken voice when he's talking about U.S. men's national soccer and soccer as a whole. But looking at the sport, talking about the aura about the U.S. men's national team and what they're capable of, and rising up against the big stars of Europe and of the entire world, really. And you got South America, they've proven themselves to be a force. Obviously, Argentina, I still think they should have lost to Cape Verde. But be it as it may, they've proven themselves to be a phenom, to be a juggernaut in world soccer. And they've battled back from deficits like nobody has ever seen, and to really do what they have to do to win games late. Okay, you're looking at the game against Switzerland. You look at the game against England today. Okay, you're talking about Enzo Fernandez with a goal in the 85th minute, and then Lauti Martinez getting a goal in stoppage time to seal the dub for Argentina and breaking the hearts of the Englishmen. So I think on paper, if England plays a little bit better in the dying embers, because that's when that's garbage time. I mean, when you're talking about garbage time in soccer, you're talking about the most important time of the game. And that has to happen to win these games in big moments. And they couldn't do that. So the cream will rise to the top. The nose will meet the grindstone. The lead will meet the paper in these moments, in these big games. Argentina's proven themselves to be a juggernaut because they can perform at such a high level in these big moments, in big games, have their players, have their stars rise to the top and do what they have to do to win these big games. And they've done it week after week, game after game. And it's really it's a force to be seen. It's a force to be witnessed. And a team as prominent as Argentina, to have a coach that wins with poise, that wins with calmness, it's really, and they're easily hated, right? Argentina is easily hated. But I think Argentina winning against England, that is the lesser of two evils from a United States and Missouri standpoint, right? So we'd rather have Argentina go back and try to win back-to-back World Cups, which is kind of crazy to even fathom. But at the same time, I believe Spain is even more hated. But who am I going to pull for in the final? Okay, you got Spain, Argentina in the final. You got England and France after France got skunked 2-0 against Spain in the semis. Damn, I mean, you're talking about missed opportunities and failing to perform in big moments. That's talking about the France team, the French. So sad news for France, the French. It's sad to see, but at the same time, they got to be better. They play with poise. They play with cockiness. They play with an ego. And to have some of the best players in the world not able to score in a big game, and not perform in opportune moments when they have chances to score, it's sad. So would we have liked to see a France-England final? I don't know. These four teams that were in the semis, that when it was four teams left, they're all easily hated. Everybody hates them. Okay, me included. But at the same time, you look at the lesser two evils, looking at who should be dethroned based on past World Cups. It looks like it's going to be Argentina. So we'd love to see Spain do what they have to do to win against them. But they could have played better in that France game. Okay, they played great defensively. They made hard challenges. They scored in the opportune moments. They probably could have scored more goals in that game. But to win in a game like that, it was a sight to be seen. Backing up the tape a little bit, looking at the Norway-England game, Norway should have won that game. Okay, you're looking at a team playing. They're basically playing each other in their own backyards. They're European juggernauts. Norway, not as much as England. They don't have as much status. They don't have as much status or stature in world soccer as England does. But to see them win would have been a sight to see. I was pulling for Norway. I wanted Norway to go all the way in the World Cup. It wasn't to be. They lost in extra time on this past Saturday. But be it as it may, they had a great run, made it to the quarters, lost 2-1 to England, a great England team. So hats off to Norway and their participation and their ability to do what they had to do to win big games and to make it deep in the World Cup. So Spain beat Belgium 2-1. That was a handily won game. Belgium could have made that more interesting, in my opinion, but Spain proved to be the better team. And it was pretty obvious towards the end of that game who was going to win. So now we have Argentina and Spain. Who wins on paper and who wins in reality are two completely different things. I think, you look at the offensive thirds of both of these teams. They both have speed. They both have shooting ability. They both have range. They both have opportunity creation potential. So I don't know. I'm going to pull for Spain, and I hate to say it because I really hate Spain. I really hate Spain, especially being an Italy fan. But I would hate to see Argentina win 2 in a row at the same time. You know, it'd be a great way for Messi to go out. And I've said it before, I'm not a huge Messi fan. I like Messi. I don't love Messi. Okay, I'm more of a Ronaldo guy. I wanted Ronaldo to beat Spain, and then you'd probably be looking at, and you could just imagine this. Imagine a Portugal-Argentina final with Ronaldo going against Messi. That's what the world wanted to see. That's what everybody wanted to see, and then we'd be pulling for Portugal pretty hard. I was pulling for them as an alternative to the U.S. men's national team, which it was a pipe dream for them to even make it as far as they did. But the next best team, in my opinion, would have been Portugal. And they have a great team. They have some potential. in the offensive third. They have a great defense. But when push came to shove, they couldn't even provide a goal. So you're looking at a 1-0 game, and it's just sad to see Portugal go out that way, especially when you look at the opportunities, you look at the potential to advance, the potential to win, potential to push the game to extra time. Didn't happen, wasn't to be, and you got to see more from Portugal in that game. Didn't see it. They've always been that team to kind of lack completing the assignment. They lack surviving in moments when they have to. And when they have to show grit and show it all and leave it all on the field, leave it all on the pitch. They've been proven in past matches, in past events, past World Cups, past Euros to not be able to rise to the occasion when they have to, and they have the players to do it. So that's just kind of a sad story there, and likely Ronaldo's last World Cup. So sad scenes there. But looking at the Argentina-Spain game in the final, on paper, pretty damn even. We're going to pull for Spain just because on paper I think they have the slight edge, and I think they have more poise than Argentina does. And if they can get up early, which I think they will strike first, right? They will strike first, in my opinion. Can they hold the Argentinians off in the dying embers of the game? Because that's when Argentina proves to be the most threatening. When everybody else is tired, everybody's down, everybody's gasping for air, that's when they show the breath. That's when they show the anticipation for what's going to happen. Okay, they have the ability, they have the agility, they have the endurance to go the distance, and that's what's allowed them to make it to a final. And the second consecutive final, and their second consecutive World Cup. Looking at the 2022 World Cup compared to 2026. So it's going to be interesting to see, but very possibly Argentina could advance and could win it all, hoist the cup. So we'll have to wait and see. Odds are still being looked at. Odds are still being adjusted. So a lot's going to change between now and Sunday. We got several days to go. That's a lot of days of rest, a lot of days of rejuvenation that can take place between now and Sunday. So almost more interested in the third place match because it still holds weight. You still could get third place, and they're still going to be playing for the third place throne. So the bronze match, you can call it. So we'll wait and see, and we'll anticipate that with great anticipation. Okay, talking about Johnny Golf. Johnny Golf's word of the week, wise words, wise thoughts. We're going to go into it talking about mini drivers. Now, mini drivers are somewhat of a new concept. It is a tool that is utilized by the golfers that might hit 3-wood off the tee. They might err towards hitting 3-wood off the tee comparing to a driver just because of its forgiveness, because of its ability to hit so much differently. You make contact so much differently with a 3-wood. I can speak to this firsthand. You can make contact with a 3-wood so much differently than a driver because the head is smaller, the miss radius is smaller, and the club head might be smaller, okay? But because of all these things, it's a little bit thinner of a face, okay? We're talking about height, talking about the height of the face. You think that more surface area would allow for more forgiveness. That doesn't seem to be the case. We're talking about another inch. We're talking about doubling the height, if not 2.5ing the height, 2.5 times the height of a 3-wood face compared to a driver face. Now you're talking about a lot more surface area, which in reality does the opposite of what you think it would do. You'd think that with more surface area, you're going to have more forgiveness. But in reality, you have a larger face, so you have more opportunities for things to go wrong. You have more opportunities for the shot to go awry. So that's what they've done with the mini driver. They've condensed the face, they've shortened the face, if you will, in height, not as much width, but height. Okay, they've shortened the face, by almost 50%, sometimes 50%, depending on the driver you're talking about. But that allows for the sweet spot to be widened because that height is being diminished. The less height in the face, it allows for a larger sweet spot. Contrary to popular belief, this is physics. This is how it works. Okay, so you're not really changing the swing as much. You're talking about in many occasions, much shorter shaft than a traditional driver in a mini driver. So I had the pleasure of hitting a mini driver, the Callaway Quantum mini driver, set at 11.5 inches loft at its base. It can be added to or subtracted with the levers and knobs on the club itself. It retails for $549.99 on pretty much all platforms, all storefronts. It's retailing for $550. And I had the pleasure of hitting this club in league play by our league owner, Jeremy Cook. Great guy. He let me hit his club. And it was eye-opening, to say the least. It was just crazy because I'm one of those players that err towards hitting a 3-wood compared to a driver. I've talked about it on this show. I've talked about it everywhere. I've talked about it to every person I look at, that maybe I'm playing with them in a scramble. Maybe I'm playing with them in league. Maybe I'm just playing with them for fun. Maybe I'm playing with them up north. Wherever it is, they know the story when it comes to me and my woes with the driver. So I hit the club, never hit the club before, never took it to the range. Took my same swing that I used to hit a 3-wood, which is a little bit more angled, a little bit more down towards the ball than a sweeping motion. It's still a sweeping motion. It's still a wood. So you still got to have that sweeping motion prominence. But with that being said, it can be hit a lot easier, and it has a lot more versatility than a traditional driver does. Okay, the sweet spot on a driver, I would compare it to hitting the sweet spot on forged irons. It's very small, and you got to hit it square on the face to get that perfect result. If you don't, it could go almost anywhere. And that length, you just add a couple inches of length to the shaft on a driver compared to a mini driver or wood, and you're talking about an infinite amount of things that can go wrong. So I hit the club, hit it perfectly, hit a little baby fade, and I wound up birdieing the hole that I hit it on, and it was just incredible to see what a club can do, and not only for the score, but what it can do for a player's confidence to be able to get off the tee and be confident in the miss radius or the landing zone of that club, where it's going to go, and distance. You can say you're sacrificing, I believe that it was 15 to 20 yards compared to hitting the sweet spot on a traditional driver. But that 15 to 20 yards is nothing in the grand scheme of things when you're talking about getting yourself in scoring position, when you're talking about putting yourself in a position to get off the tee and have a shot to then attack the green and try to get birdie. So I was amazed with what the club was able to do for me in just a few shots. And I think I played with it on 2 holes. The second hole, I left the face wide open, and I still found the ball. It was on the right side of the rough, almost OB. But with a traditional driver, that would have been way OB, right? And I know that because I've done it a million times. So being able to calibrate your misses, we're judged by our misses, not by our makes in golf. We're judged by the miss radius, our flaws. How much can we limit the flaws that are at hand that we're dealing with in the golf game, not only with driver, but with every club. And I was amazed with that forgiveness. That amount of forgiveness is infinite. And that's why you see a lot of pros playing these mini drivers. That's why you see a lot of amateurs playing with mini drivers now. Now, it's a steep price tag because the fad has taken on its own life, because it's essentially a new club. It's essentially a new concept of club that is basically a 3-wood on steroids. Okay, it's a 3-wood, has a little bit larger head, shorter shaft. Shaft is similar in length to a 3-wood, actually. And you're talking about a little bit of de-lofting compared to a 3-wood. So the two that I'm looking at really closely and is the Callaway Quantum, just because I've hit it, and the R7 Quad mini driver, just because the R7 is the driver that I have. So I know the quirks, I know the ins and outs of the R7. And for them to bring back the R7 after the slew of drivers that TaylorMade has released, to essentially, it's like, why don't they make an R11? Why don't they make, why don't they make another TaylorMade mini driver that's modeled after a newer piece of technology? No, they go back to the R7. So that means they did something right. They were onto something with the R7 driver. Okay, they were onto something because they're going back 15, 20 years with an older model and creating it and morphing it into its next evolution, which is the mini driver, the R7 Quad Mini. So those are the two I'm looking at. A little less of a steep price tag with the R7 Quad Mini driver at $479.99. That's right off the website. You can buy them on secondhand sites like Marketplace for around $300 to $350. So that's a little bit more doable of a price tag if you're trying to get into the world of mini drivers. That's kind of what I'm erring towards, not just because of the price tag, because it's not all about that. You're talking about getting the ball off the tee, having a club that's going to last you a long time, having a new piece of technology that's essentially revolutionizing the game of golf. You almost can't put a price tag on that. So I'm going to go out, I'm going to hit a couple of these drivers, these mini drivers, and test them out and see where I stand. But I am highly considering getting into one of these mini drivers and basically taking the original driver, the actual build, taking that out of the bag entirely, because it is redundant to have a mini driver and a driver. A lot of pros do it. But more times than not, these pros, even Tommy Fleetwood specifically, they seem to lean towards hitting a mini driver on more occasions, especially the tighter shots, the tighter fairways, where they got to be more precise with their positioning off the tee. They're seeming to go towards the mini driver compared to a traditional driver, and for obvious reasons. So the research is underway. We're looking at it very closely. We're doing the numbers. We're calculating the formulas. We're going to put them to the test on the range. And it's only a matter of time before I'm into one of these mini drivers and throwing it in the bag, because it looks like the next best thing. And it looks like the best hybrid between an actual driver, traditional driver, and what the mini driver is, which is basically that hybrid. Driver, 3-wood, they have a baby, it's a mini driver. That's what it is. It's a beautiful thing. So that's what we're looking at right now. They also have one. It's a Titleist GT280, retailing for $399.99 at Dick's. So that's going to be an option on the table as well. But now you see all these golf companies, these club creating companies, they're coming out with a version of a mini driver that they're hoping to revolutionize the game with these clubs. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time for golf. And with golf, what it is, we've seen beta tested clubs be on the market, but these are clubs that are approved by the USGA. That is basically a new club, so to speak. And we've been dealing with traditional clubs for the better part of the modern era, ever since we had wooden clubs. So we started with titanium faces. We moved on to steel faces and clubs of that nature going into the 90s, going into the early 2000s. A lot of new technology has been developed even since then, and now this is the next newest thing. So this is taking the golf world by storm, and we'll have to wait and see what it does for the game. It's already proven itself to be a force in the modern game at the professional level. So that just goes without saying that it's going to revolutionize the amateur game as well for the more novice golfer. And it's going to provide more opportune situations for players to get off the tee. It's going to allow players to have more confidence off the tee. And it's going to allow for more opportunities as a whole to score on holes where you usually wouldn't, or where you usually be dropping or re-teeing, depending on the format you're doing. So if you can create those opportunities, if you can elevate your game by investing in a new piece of technology, then so be it. It's worth it. You're spending money on golf anyways. You're spending a ton of money on golf. Okay, golf is not a cheap sport. So if you're spending money on golf, you might as well do what you got to do to play well. Now, I've always also said that don't just provide fixes to the symptoms, but fix the actual issue. That's why I don't like closing the face at address or doing certain things that I know are going to be a part-time fix. I'm not going to be able to apply to muscle memory. I can already hit a 3-wood. I know what a crisp, flushed 3-wood feels like. So if I can just morph that into what it's going to feel like hitting a club off the tee, a little bit more height, not full height with a tee than you would hit with a traditional driver, but I'd say midway from where you'd tee with a 3-wood. 3-wood's just basically off the deck. 3-wood, mini drivers halfway, traditional drivers all the way. I'd say 1.5 to 2 inches off the ground. You're looking at probably an inch to 1.25 inches off the ground, off the deck when you're teeing up a mini driver. So a lot of opportunities there. If you have any experience with mini drivers, I want to know what your experience is. These are still brand new clubs. Many players, the vast majority of players, do not have these in their bag. So let me know if you have any experience. Let me know what your experience is. I would love to know. And it's going to help my search in finding a mini driver for myself. So I'm excited to hear from the people, the community, and we'll have to wait and see. Good deal. Good deal. Like I said, we're in the mid-season. We're in the prime season, prime time of golf right now. So if you haven't got out and played, get out and play some golf. Okay, your game should be at a strong point. You should be up here with your level of play. You should have been out and played a couple rounds by now. We still have summer golf to go. You got fall golf to look forward to, which is probably some of the best golf you're going to play all year across the state of Michigan. So get dialed in, figure it out, and get that swing dialed. Shoot some low rounds. It feels really good. Does a lot of great things for your confidence. And it's going to do great things for your golf game. The other thing, last thing about golf, and I gotta be able to take my own advice when I say this, but commit things to muscle memory that you're going to use and remember, even through the off season, because it's easy to commit these things to muscle memory. We know in Michigan we have a long winter. We have a long winter ahead of us. Winter is coming. Winter is always approaching. So to be able to apply these things to muscle memory, to commit them to your arsenal of mental capacity and your ability to address the ball and be confident in the ball, apply that stuff in fall golf or in late summer golf to then be used in the early spring rounds. Okay? Do the things you have to do to keep those things in the tuck, keep them close to the vest so that you're not going to forget them. It's not going to be like you just picked up a club for the first time in a decade when you hit the course in early spring. Okay? I got to take my own advice when I say that, but I got to put it out there for the people because this is what's going through my head. And not only that, but keep a journal. Keep a journal that you're going to utilize, that you're going to reference, look back at, and be like, this is what I have to do at address. This is what I have to do throughout my backswing. This is what I have to do through impact and past impact when I'm holding my form. And all the way until you're putting the club back in your bag. Have it all documented so you know what you have to do and do these things at the range so you know what works. So these things can be replicated. That's what golf's all about. It's all about consistency. It's all about replication. Committing things to muscle memory. Committing things to mental memory. And keeping a strong mental throughout the round and throughout the entire season is paramount. Paramount. Good deal. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end. Make sure to check us out on social media, ginsportsnetwork.com, on the web. Find us on IG at ginsportsnetwork, and find me on IG and Twitter at gincommish. We'll keep the conversation going on there. But for now, that's it. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of the Gin Sports Network podcast. We'll see you here next time. Have a great night.